Kassandra, we come to you this day in love and in light and in truth. Is this acceptable to you?
Yeah.
So we asked to do this communication this day because, as we spoke of previously, we would like to do this a little bit more regularly to give information for the fact that this year is going to be a very, very strong year. It's a year where many will ultimately separate themselves from any shadow, any darkness, etc., that they may be connected to. And of course, most individuals feel they are a good person, that they are an honorable person, that they are doing their best, and that they obviously are not connected to any darkness. However, what we would say is this: perhaps they're not acting upon darkness and acting in a grey manner, right, in their negative manner. However, they are still attached to darkness every time they give their energy away to fear, to gossip, to judgment. Every time they look at what the government is doing, or the medical system is doing, or the financial system, or the education system, or, something like this. Every time they look at it and they see, okay, I don't like what they're doing, and then they want to, in a way, investigate more, go into it more, they're hooking into that energy. They're giving it their energy. It's all what one could say is drama. And so when you like to go into drama, it's because you have a victim, persecutor, rescuer pattern going on. And of course, the victim and the persecutor swap roles. But the rescuer becomes the persecuted often, because the victim will often persecute the rescuer in the end, because the victim is not willing to be wholly responsible for what is being created in their life. And we say being created in their life because for some, it's not what they are creating themselves, it's what's being created around them that they are hooking into. And this is what we mean by giving your power away. When you hook into a paradigm, into a reality, into a belief system, a sort of gathering that says, this is what you should be afraid of, this is what you should fight up against, this is what you should, could, would, all of these things. It's taking your power away, it's harnessing your energy. And we see this a lot, where people have given their power away to make other people great, to make them influencers, to make them wealthy, to make them a lot of things, put them in positions of power. And of course, that's because the energy of self-responsibility is very weak. You have had systems in place for decades telling you, we will be responsible for this. We will make your life easier by doing this. You can see it in your very short history where government said, oh, well, don't worry, we'll have your children in daycare so that the wife can go out to work. What happens when you've got too many people in a family going to work? The child is being brought up by you don't know who. Who's the child being brought up? So you're advocating responsibility of the child that you gave birth to, that you supposedly chose to have. And so some might say, well, what about women's choice, women's freedom? Then we would say, don't have a child if you're not ready to bring it up for a certain amount of time. Yes, it needs to be educated, but if the education at this point is telling your 5 or 6 year old that it's a different gender and talking strongly about sexual concepts or politics or religion, then any of those things, the child is not ready to hear all of that. Child's development must come from play, interaction, touch, etc. It doesn't come from, having provocative images placed in front of it and being brainwashed. This is another subject, actually. We won't go too deeply into it. But what we're suggesting is your power comes from It's in direct relationship to how much responsibility you're willing to take for yourself and your community and your family. So how much power do you actually feel that you have right now is equal to how much you've given away by allowing someone else, something else, to be responsible for you. Now, having a community like there used to be small communities, small banking systems, small systems, your local doctor. If you look back at that time, and many young ones don't have the privilege of being able to remember that, and it's been completely wiped from any history within their family because it's not existing in the media. But if you go back even 50 years, you will see that people depended on each other, not necessarily a government. So if the farmer needed help, he didn't go to the bank for a loan. He went to his community and said, my wife is ill, please can the community help me to sow the crops this year or reap the crops this year? And they did. Knowing full well that if something happened to them, they would also receive that support, rather than going to the bank and getting into more debt. They helped each other so they didn't have to be in debt. Now you have farmers so heavily in debt they can't move forward with anything. So how much power have you given away? Supporting another person and empowering each other is a good thing. But what we hear a lot is, why should I help them? What have they done for me? When is it my turn? When am I going to get? It's very selfish. So what has been taught in your system, and particularly in social media, is how to be selfish, disconnected, to only look after yourself. They are telling you that that is powerful. And yet all of those people are so lost. They're so lost. They're so miserable. They understand all of their so-called friends are just there for the money and the ride. So what safety and security does that bring if something goes wrong? The pressure on those who are influencers to keep it up so that they remain with the friendships and support they supposedly think they have is quite strong. So it's a false reality. And the false reality is, I've given my power away. I'm not willing to be 100% responsible. The moment you become 100% responsible means also, if something happens, what did I do to create it? What's my role in it? Most people go to blaming another. They did this. If it wasn't for the fact that I was picking you up, or it wasn't for the fact that I was helping you, this wouldn't have happened to me. Perhaps it would have. Anyway. So self-responsibility is also about accepting what you are creating in your life. If your life is miserable, you are responsible for this. If you're an adult, of course. If you're a child, that's a totally different situation. A child cannot determine what it creates to a certain degree because it is limited by its parents' abilities. We use that word, limited. So it's extremely important in this year, 2023, that you source your power. You realize, okay, I'm giving my power away to this. I'm giving it away to a religion that has never served me when I've needed it. I've given it away to a medical system that's certainly not helping me at this point when I need it. I've given it away to an education system that has molded me into a person that believes I am a victim. I need reparations. I need a government system to give me money just for being because something bad happened to my ancestors of a particular colour. Well, something bad happened to everybody's ancestors of every colour. If you go back in history, you'll find everyone has been enslaved, regardless of the colour of their skin or their religion or culture. Every single one of you has been enslaved, and currently you're more enslaved than you ever were. There may not be chains around your arms and feet, but you are certainly enslaved. We didn't want to make this a terribly heavy conversation. However, it is moving into that direction because the truth will set you free. Look at where you've given your power to, what you've given it to, and state, I am no longer willing to create this with you. You see, you have the power to uncreate what you've created. You have the power within you to light up 100 light bulbs energetically. You have that power. You just don't know how to use it. You have the power to direct energy, to harness energy in your physical body. You have this power. And what's going to happen very soon is they're going to tell you, hey, guess what? If you put this chip, this computer chip into your brain or your arm or what have you, you will be able to harness the power of this. You will be fully connected to the internet. You will be able to do this and that. We're telling you you can do it without that. Everything that has been technologically created, you can do without that technology. Technology has made you all lazy. You know, the indigenous could communicate telepathically. They were able to send messages from one tribe to the other. Through the water, through the airwaves, through telepathy. They were able to do that. And you talk about gifts that you want. Oh, where's my gift of sight? Where's my gift of healing? Well, how are you going to get it if you've given your power away to technology? And then you complain, oh, spirit isn't allowing it. It's not spirit that's not allowing it, it's you. It's your practices that's not allowing it. It has nothing to do with spirit. Oh, God's not giving me this. Why is God being hard on me? It's got nothing to do with God. God would give you everything. You're just refusing to listen. When someone makes a mistake with, we've spoken of this before. So you go to a shop and the person gives you change, but they give you too much change. Many people would just take the change and say that's a blessing from God. We would say, it's an initiation from God. Give back the money. It's not yours. But some would go to their friends, oh, isn't it great? I got an extra $20 or $50 because God gifted it to me. And this poor person who served you has to take it out of their wage. So how's it a gift? It's a gift if you find it on the ground and there's no one around, you can't see anything, it's a random 20. That's a gift. Right? It's not a gift when you do something, when you know that they've given you the wrong amount. It's not a gift. So get straight with yourself. You can't ask God for something and then behave like that in the next breath. The more that you align with the truth of who you are and the power in which you possess, and the only way you can do that is by removing yourself from everywhere where you've given power and responsibility away. And yes, it's nice and easy to simply go to the market and buy your food. But what's going to happen relatively soon for many is you won't be able to do that. So what are you going to do? You've forgotten how to grow it. What did you call your grandmother for growing it? Silly. Yeah? Oh, they're acting like a peasant for growing their own food. Now you'll be blessing the grandmother if she's good enough to teach you how to do it, to show you the ways. You're going to have to go back to self-responsibility because you've given your responsibility away so vastly that you need to know the value of it. So if you can sit and say, okay, in what way did I give my power away? And then start saying, I refuse, or I am unwilling, actually, to create this with you, to whatever force that may be. I'm unwilling to participate in this with you. You see, every reality is co-created. And you're all co-creating consistently every day your burdens, your fears, your suffering, your victimhood. Every single day you are choosing to create it. And what we are suggesting is when you wake up in the morning, the first time during that morning or through the day that you start to feel that you're giving your power away or you're giving your responsibility away to someone and you're feeling bad about it, you're feeling like a victim, stop yourself and say, I am unwilling to create this with you. Lord, send me another way. Show me another way. If you're choosing to be the persecutor and you're choosing to do something, as in take the 20, you're choosing to do something that you know is slightly unethical, but you can justify it because there's new laws that justify it. That disempowers you also. If you're running around rescuing people who don't want to be rescued, who simply want to remain a victim, you're disempowering them, so let go of the rope. Ask them when they tell you their problem. Ask them, okay, this is a serious problem. What would you like the outcome to be? And what would you consider the first step to be to gaining that outcome? And if they say to you, I don't know, because normally they do, because they want you to be responsible. But the moment you're responsible, with the moment you will become the victim, because they will have a go at you. It's your fault this didn't turn out. It's your fault it went wrong. You told me to do it and I did it and I did. But if a person does something and they're not fully invested in it, it won't work. It will not work. So there's no point in rescuing the victim that doesn't really want to be rescued, because there's more power in being a victim and not being self-responsible. So the best thing to do then, if they say, I don't know, is to simply state, well, okay, when you do know, let me know. If they say to you, well, I think it would be good if this happened or that happened. All right, so what's the first step you would do to do that? They might say, well, maybe I'll do this. Okay, that's great. And then you can say, if you need my help in any of this, please let me know, because now you've got someone who's willing to be empowered and no longer willing to be a victim because of the questions you asked. And this is going to become extremely important, because all of these people who've participated in the lies, in letting go of responsibility, are going to need to transfer that responsibility to someone else. And they will transfer it to those that are willing to accept responsibility. You see, responsibility, which a lot of people don't want to accept, gives you the ability to make decisions. So when you vote in a lawyer or a CEO of a company or a bank or a head principal of a school, you're advocating responsibility to them, and you're saying, well, I trust you to make the right decisions for all of us because there's so many of us, you need to do that, which is fair enough. That's fair enough. But if that person is then using that responsibility to make decisions that go against you at the school, your children, at the bank, your interest rates, etc., if it's to go against you, then you need to step in and change it, right? But how can you change it when everybody has handed over responsibility? And it's so much easier to be a victim and say, oh, it's the bank did it to me, the school did it to my child, oh, this happened and that. It's so much easier to do that. A spiritual warrior is someone who knows the truth and does what's right in every situation, regardless of the impact and rejection they may receive. Because what happens with you when you do that? You become closer to God. which is a much better relationship or spirit than it is to be with someone who doesn't care about you. So that's what we would like. That's what we wanted to discuss, is to accept responsibility, to take your power back, to use your steps to do that. And it doesn't necessarily need to be anything violent, just I'm unwilling to co-create this. Again and again and again. Say it again and again and again. I cancel any way, which way I have created this. Any part of me that is still involved in this, I release. I ask for forgiveness for all that I have created. It's simple. The truth will set you free. Become aware. So that's what we wanted to say on that subject.